Greetings on behalf of the New England CCIM Chapter. I'm Michael Chase, Chapter President for 2022. As always, we kick off by giving a quick thank you to our annual sponsors. Our gold level sponsors, Geronimo Properties and Northmark. Our silver level sponsors, May Property Management and St. James Real Estate Advisors. We would also like to mention our chapter's charitable partner for 2022, New View Communities, a CDC organization promoting affordable housing in central Massachusetts. To find out how you can become a sponsor of the New England CCIM Chapter or learn more about New View Communities, please feel free to visit our websites. I'll add links in the description below. Today is the second video for 2022 in our Why CCIM series, and we are very pleased to be joined by Dave Gambaccini, a senior advisor with Colliers Financial Services. We welcome Dave back, as many of you recognize him from past videos on this channel. Dave is a CCIM designee and is a past president of the New England CCIM Chapter from 2020 and 2021, and he is the current regional vice president for CCIM Institute, Region 11. Dave joins us today to talk about his experience with the JWL, or JWL for short, Leadership Development Academy. Dave, thank you for joining us. First off, would you like to take a moment and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, Michael, thank you so much. Yeah, it is interesting not to be the moderator of this. This is great. I mean, we're on the screen next to each other, but it's a different seat to be in. So it's kind of refreshing, actually. Yep, as you said, started with the Institute. Let's see, I pinned in 2018 and I got involved right away. We got on our New England chapter board of directors and found my way up and was president for a couple of years. Jumped on a few committees, national committees last year. Which really got me engaged at the Institute level, which was a big jump, and then was positioned for regional vice president. So I am now regional vice president and a member of the CCIM Institute board of directors and on 2 national committees. So yes, the CCIM world of things for me is really integrated with national, which is great because it brings a lot of information back to our chapter that I think really, I didn't really know a lot about the inner workings of the Institute until I kind of got more involved. So up to speed there on CCIM and all things CCIM related. And as you said, senior advisor, Colliers Financial Services. What was the rest of that? I love this. I don't have the script in front of me.
No, just, to kick off, just tell us a little bit about yourself. All that CCIM stuff that you do is amazing, especially since it's all volunteer. But then what do you do for day to day? How do you keep the lights on?
Yes, so Colliers Financial Services, and you and I talk about this. So I started my career however many moons ago on the commercial real estate side, right? Transactional broker, buying, selling, leasing. And I knew I wanted to do a little bit more than just the commercial leasing and selling. So I pursued CCIM to help me get closer to investors and understanding investment properties. So when I finally became a CCIM, I felt, hey, I'm equipped. I got all these new tools. Let me go out there and work with investors. And I was doing it. It was working well. And I moved a couple of places in trying to find myself as far as a broker, and really was evolving more towards, with that financial side of things, with investment properties, was really gravitating to the financial side of real estate. And for several years had my own local equity firm sourcing private equity and debt for commercial real estate developments, and had a long-standing relationship with a couple of the guys here at Colliers, and just the way things work, it made sense to partner with these guys, and partner with them, which really it's one of those veterans in the industry and a younger guy, and that mix of experience and age. So we're doing a lot to bring similar to your industry, similar. You and I are, if we were in the same market, could be competitors, providing debt capital, mortgage loans through local banks, financial institutions, credit unions, and we're doing permanent loans, construction to perm, bridge, mezzanine, and once again, we do source equity. We have some wealthy individuals who do support developments, and our market is basically, we don't get down into Boston as much. I've got a nice sized project in Cambridge That's probably about as close as I'm going to get to directly into your market. But you know, we try to service New Hampshire. We have a Colliers office in Portland, Maine, I was telling you about, and we're doing some financial service work for them and some of the developments that you see going up in Maine right now as well.
Great.
And central New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire is really probably the core.
Excellent. Thank you for that overview.
Sure.
Why don't we start off on our conversation on the JWL Leadership Development Academy and just give us a quick overview of the Academy and how it works.
Sure. I'll step back just a hair. Basically what happened was, because I was engaged, because I had gotten engaged and decided to get involved and do a little bit more as president, I started asking questions and I started to get to know Institute staff, right? Not just the executive board, but Institute staff. And in trying to navigate, well, how do we do this? How do we do that? And it led me to different people and eventually the executive board. And I started asking them questions, right? The Institute presidents. And I started these email relationships until I started meeting them and asked questions. Then when I finally met them is when they started to evaluate me. Well, what are you trying to do? And how are you trying to do it? And they started helping me. And that's what I brought my first year presidency. I brought a lot of that back to the chapter and said, hey, this is what I'm finding out. Hey, this is the way other chapters do it. And basically, I didn't know what JWL Leadership Development Academy was. I had no idea. But because I seemingly got involved and was trying to do things, the 2018 Institute president, David Wilson, kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, by the way, I'm going to send you an email, read it, go to the website, read about this Leadership Development Academy. You have to do this. And okay, why do I have to? Because you're trying to do more for your chapter. You want to do more for your region. You're getting involved. It would be a great experience for you to go through this Leadership Development Academy. So that's what the catalyst was really one of the past Institute presidents who brought it to my attention and said, you should try this. Great. I looked at it and said, okay, perfect. What do I do? And it was a process of submitting an application. You do have to be accepted into this. So I submitted an application. I believe it had 2 or 3 letters of recommendation, which I was able to get from chapter members. And this was before I should say that. I believe, was this before I was president? Or no, it was while I was president. I had chapter members and David Wilson, the Institute president, who wrote me a letter of recommendation, and I submitted that. Now, it is of great interesting note that they do offer scholarships for the Leadership Development Academy. So after I was accepted into the leadership program, I then filed for a scholarship, and they award 1 scholarship. They typically they try to keep it around 20 students each year. They started this in 2003. They've run it almost every single year. A couple glitches after 2015 with different changes. So there's a couple missed years for different reasons. My year was kind of a mess. It was 2020, and we went into 2021 because of the pandemic. So we missed a year there. So there's been a couple misses, but essentially it started in 2003. And since then, they typically take about 20 students, plus or minus, to try to keep the group manageable. And it's intended to be a 9-month leadership program. There are obviously in person. We all started in Fort Lauderdale and in a giant room with all of us, and we get introduced to the program. The program is. And this information is on the Institute website. Just literally search JWL, hit return, and it's the first thing that comes up. So I don't want to belabor the definition of it on their website, but it is intended to be in a leadership development academy, kind of specifically tailored to the CCIM Institute, because, and I'll get to that, some of the curriculum we learned. It gives you a deeper dive into the Institute, how it works, how it operates, how that flow of information and how the function of the Institute, a region, and a chapter works. And then it brings you to core leadership skills. As a president of a chapter, how do you manage personalities? How do you manage committees? How should committees operate? How can you work with other chapter leaders in your region? And how can you do a regional event? So it really gives you a good foundation of the mechanics of the different parts of what make up the Institute, which are right down to us as members. there is a lot that's really intended to be personal growth, right? Personal development. What you take away in any leadership or sales training is intended to help you as a person as well. So I come back to my community, and I already volunteer in many other ways in my community outside of real estate, and it reinforces that, right? Communication between people, managing different personalities, chairing committees. I mean, committees, we know it's like herding kittens, right? If you have a room full of 12 people and you get a lot of these personalities and ideas, they're all great, but you got to try to harness that, and you got to try to do something with it. And this really does give you the opportunity. Look, I make reference to jury duty. I was shocked. I went into jury duty not long ago, and it was chaos. I don't know if you've served jury duty or anyone else has. That's challenging. When you're in there with those 12 people and you're deliberating on what's going on, it was chaos. Nobody's done that before. Nobody knows what to do. And I had this leadership of capabilities, tools that I was able to say, okay, hold on, let's start from start. And I treated it, I have a science degree. I treated it like science A/B testing. If this, then that. If this, then that. And all it was trying to organize conversation, and it worked. We went through a great process, and we deliberated, we did our thing, and the judge actually came in after and said, hey, there's a lot of couple challenges to that. You guys did a great job. And so it was interesting. It was reaffirming to know that, hey, I paid attention in leadership development, and it worked in real life outside of real estate.
So it sounds as if, like you said, this academy, it's offered by the Institute. It uses the Institute as the backdrop or as the infrastructure in which to kind of teach some of its lessons, but the lessons are translatable for your other real life and your other business situations.
Yeah, and I think, look, if you're some CCIMs get the designation because they want the education. Some use the designation CCIM after their name, some don't. Some get involved in the chapter, some get involved in the board of directors, some do more, some do less. That's fine. At the core of CCIM is not only education, but it's volunteerism. We are all volunteers. And there's a huge component of giving back, whether it's to CCIM or your community and your schools and your neighborhoods or whatever it is you choose to participate in. So yes, it was a lot of what they do says, hey, look, there's a focus here at the institute level, which will go down to regional, which will go down to chapter. But gosh, if you just want to be a person that does something different for your company and you want to do more for your company, this is going to apply there as well. So it's a member benefit, and it's only a little bit exclusive because you have to decide you want to engage. You need to decide that, hey, I want to do more. And gosh, I want to apply for this and see if I am accepted to this. I want to see if I've done enough in my career now to say that I should participate, and then they accept me and say, hey, you qualify, you're going to do great things here. And then it just explodes from there, right? I guess we're leaning into that, but the program and the process of getting there, or I should say the process of getting there, and then the program itself is fantastic. And then, as you said, the camaraderie, the relationships, and the networking I did not expect that, right? You don't even realize at that first meeting that you're sitting in their room with 20 folks, and I started saying it's a 9-month program. We were supposed to meet in person, I think 5 times over that 9 months. The rest of it's supposed to be online, and you have work to do, and you're working with a team and a group. You have an accountability partner. So there's a lot of engagement through those 9 months, and then you do have a project. Right after a couple of sessions, you're introduced to a project, and I'll come back to that. But then you work together as a team in a group, a smaller subset, 4 or 5 people, and then you work on that project through the duration. And you're supposed to meet up a few times. We only met once in Fort Lauderdale, and then poof, we went to Zoom in a pandemic, and we didn't. I don't even know if we graduated in person. I think it was after I think we finally got together literally after we quote unquote graduated. But relationships were formed because you're working with these people from other parts of the country that you never would have met otherwise. And I still have a tremendous network with 3 or 4 core folks, some who do exactly what you and I do, Michael, some who do something a little different, right? That might be, you know, a retail specialist. I don't touch that. That's not my world. I don't know it, but he's a great resource. He's a great person to talk to. He's got a tremendous amount of knowledge, and he's just someone that's become a friend. Since the graduation, I continue to attend Institute events, the mid-year governance meetings, the fall sessions. I'm forgetting what these things are all called, but I'm going to these meetings, and now I'm seeing people I know, right? And it's more comfortable to be able to be around these folks, because through them, then you meet other folks, and come meet these people in my chapter, and you start learning what other people in the institute and the chapters, other CCIMs, just other folks in general. Referrals. People have asked me all kinds of stuff for referrals. Hey, I know Connecticut's not your market. Boom, I made a referral to Connecticut. Hey, do you know anybody in Maine? Boom, made a connection in Maine. So it really becomes that, once again, that member benefit just blows up depending on how you engage with it.
I think you've probably already touched on this a lot just by your description. But I mean, we've talked about your commercial real estate journey has certainly evolved over the last several years. And even in your introduction, you talked about how you started off as a broker and then started an equity firm, and now you're doing what you're doing today. How would you say JWL and the CCIM Institute has helped you most through all those transitions?
It started first with knowledge, and I'd say it's almost exactly what's carried on. Once I became a there was a level of, I started my real estate career later in life. I'd already had 12 years of corporate America. So real estate was a second career. Forget about the different iterations of corporate America, just call it corporate America. So getting into real estate was the brainchild after owning multifamily. So I had already started a small portfolio of multifamilies, and enough folks had said you could do this professionally, type of thing. So I was already investing on my own, and then decided to get my real estate license, and then said, okay, I'm a little late in the career to be doing this. I can't wait the 5 to 10 years to get the experience. I need to figure out how to get experience immediately. And I entered the CCIM program. So immediately it gave me education. What followed that was confidence, right? So I had education and confidence right away, because I was like, hey, I'm learning, I'm doing CCIM education. This is great. And what the other side of that is, what I gained was respect. People in the industry, in the market that knew it, said, oh, wow. Oh, so you're trying to become a CCIM. Oh, you're taking CCIM courses. And either they were a CCIM, or perhaps they were clients that said, oh, I know of CCIM. Oh, I know this guy. He does really well. Oh, that's great. So you were given a little bit of a respect. More, I don't want to say more. I'm just saying I was given some respect because I was going through the program. So that's really what started it. And once I became a CCIM, it was knowledge and confidence. And then when I realized, hey, I want to do more on the investment side, I was leveraging everything CCIM I had learned, using discounted cash flows and the different analysis tools that they provide us. And I was learning it through repetition of what they taught us, applying it to real world scenarios. And then I just evolved from there. Once again, the interest level went from transactional real estate to really financial real estate. How do I support the financial side of the real estate, not the transactional side? So that was that kind of trajectory. So the answer is, it's always been about the education. Networking, sure, it absolutely happens quite a bit, really, within our chapter, within our region, and for me now nationally, because of the different people I've touched. So education, networking, resources, and that's what my evolution has been. It's just, and then the interest to just be on the financial side.
Great. I think you touched on several of the takeaways that you had through your participation in the JWL Leadership Academy. When you were first entering into the program, and now you've completed the program, was there anything that surprised you or that you weren't expecting that you ended up experiencing through the program that you maybe weren't expecting when you were first going in?
Yeah, I understood it to be leadership development. So of course we had, we had curriculum, we had books, we had a director, what am I trying to say? Someone teaching us, right? We had an instructor. We had an instructor. So I expected that. I expected to be learning. And I knew we'd be broken into smaller groups, and I knew we'd have an accountability partner, and I knew we'd have a group project. What I didn't realize is it is a real project. The Institute prepares for JWL knowing that if they have 20 people and they can break out, 4 or 5 projects, right? So they play with that, 4 or 5 projects. The Institute takes problems they're having and creates the topic as, please help us solve this. And that's what the project becomes. There is a system to try to pick which project you want to be on, and you can get a first, second, or third choice type thing. But essentially, you're assigned a real world Institute problem that they're having, and we didn't expect that. We just thought, oh, we're going to get some generic project. It wasn't. It was my specific project. That there was 4 of us that were in there. Yeah, we had a group of 4, and our project was introducing CCIM and commercial real estate to young entrepreneurs. Okay, one of the biggest issues with the commercial real estate industry is the demographics. Our demographics of the people that practice are really not good, right? There's a high percentage of folks that are aging out, or call it just leaving the industry from one reason or another, and there's a gap in the demographics of who replaces that. And the tools and the resources that we leverage vary over the years, right? Folks that have been doing it a long time, that are longer in the industry, may still only use spreadsheets for everything, no matter what it is. And there's all these other automated tools that younger generations are used to, right? Something as simple as this, Michael, you and I talk about it all the time, YouTube. Older generations may not grasp the concept of sharing content information through YouTube. I spun up the TikTok channel, the CCIM Dave TikTok thing. I don't even know what it is. I'm not even that great with it, but I did it as a result of my JWL project, because I had to say, okay, great. I don't even know what TikTok, I knew what it was. Had no idea how it worked, but part of my project was trying to, okay, how do you talk to the Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen AA, right? Because we're missing generations already. If they're in their mid-20s, you've already missed them. So how do you communicate and talk to them? And that's what brought us to these platforms. And we said, they're using these platforms. And I grabbed TikTok and said, okay, fine, I'll figure it out. We'll make a demo, right? We'll demonstrate how it could be used. And that's what part of my project was. My very first video, I only have like 3, 4 of them, whatever, but the very first video was submitted as part of the JWL project. There's a YouTube video that doesn't exist because it's not posted. TikTok didn't give me that option. So I had to create a JWL video as an example of what the Institute could do to market to a younger generation. That is my first TikTok. The thing looks like I'm studying and doing the test and all that. So when we had an overwhelming response, your project is shown to executive leadership, CCIM Institute staff, and anyone who's ever been in JWL since 2003 is invited to attend the presentations. We had an overwhelming response to our project. No one is a winner, no one is a loser. They take these projects, and the Institute has committees that then say, let's prioritize these. Which one of these can we implement, and what can we do with them? And at least a portion of ours, which surrounds social media and marketing to younger generations, is being implemented right now. So that's the other side of the takeaway of what was I surprised with. Not only was it a real world problem for the Institute, they took what we did and immediately started to figure out how to apply it. So they do take that work that you've done for months and months and months, and they apply it. And we just got a tremendous amount of feedback. And we still, personally, I still get a lot of feedback, that people laugh about, hey, the TikTok guy, whatever. But it was really, I did not expect to have a real world problem, and I did not expect that they would take it right away and start implementing it. So it was really a sense of accomplishment on a different level than anything.
I think you've provided just a great overview of the JWL program, how it operates, and the potential that it can have for people who are interested. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share on the JWL program or your experience in it?
Yeah, in general, I think, Michael, you and I talk about this all the time, and I say it anytime I talk about CCIM. CCIM and any volunteer organization or group, you get out what you put into it, right? So if you want to be involved, you can get as involved as you like, okay? I chose to be involved. I was positioned well to become the chapter president. Once I did that, I realized I wanted to do more. So I did position myself to become the regional vice president. I did position myself to have an opportunity to get on national committees, which gave me the opportunity to become a CCIM Institute board member, right? So now I have a voting right. I vote on Institute matters which affect down to our chapter. And I don't vote based on what Dave Gambaccini thinks. I vote on behalf of what I feel is right for our chapter and our region. And really that responsibility rests as the regional vice president. So my role as regional vice president is to communicate with everyone, the leaders of the chapters, and say, what do you think is most beneficial for our chapter or region? And it's bridging the communication between the institute and the chapter, and then saying, hey, this is how I vote and this is why. And same thing with the committees. I get a voice on these committees. I can say this is what I like and don't like. And it's usually, it's not about me personally. It's what I know. Hey, I know our chapter XYZ, and I want to try to get that support for my chapter. I'm going to say this or that, or vote this way. So in general, you get out what you put in, and really with CCIM, the JWL Leadership Development Academy is sort of a farm system of leadership. It's exactly what it is. There's a high percentage of JWL graduates who go on to be national or institute committee members, committee chair people, executive boards presidents. And that means presidents of the institute, presidents of the chapters. So there is a clear path for those in JWL who choose to get involved and do more either for themselves or for the institute, their chapter, their region. So JWL is just a phenomenal tool for your personal life, but of course it helps you achieve more within the CCIM world, if you will, right? Your CCIM career, as I have referred to it before. And that's what I chose to do. I wanted to advance my CCIM career, and that was just a wonderful platform to help start that.
Well, you mentioned, you get out what you put in, but I always like to kind of wrap up these interviews and ask, what can this New England CCIM chapter do to help support professionals and companies like yours?
I think Michael, you're already doing just a phenomenal job, and it's content. We've changed to content, we don't say events as much anymore because of the pandemic. So it's foolish for people to say, well, we need more events. Well, we can't manage that. We don't control it necessarily during this pandemic. So really it's content. This is content, right? Sharing these videos is content. When we can meet in person, it's content. Now it gives me a little bit more networking. Right now it's just you and I. But if I go to an event that I can, shake hands and hand out business cards and tell stories, great, there's networking. So I would summarize it by saying content. And when it can be in person and it can be networking, great. The other side of it is education. Look, we have challenges. Every chapter has challenges. How do you provide education? We're not an endless supply of educators and time and resources, but making sure that we do some core education and some market or industry education that's not core CCIM, I think is absolutely necessary. So you've established a wonderful calendar of education and content or events, and I think that's key. That's what keeps folks engaged in the chapter and keeps our board of directors full of people who want to continue to keep the CCIM legacy moving forward. So I think that in a nutshell sums up CCIM in general.
Great.
You want to engage and get out what you can and put in what you want.
Excellent. Dave, as always, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today and sharing your experiences and your insight. And thank you for taking the time to view this video. You can follow Dave and connect with him on LinkedIn and also on his company's website. We will provide links in the description below. You will also find a link to find out more about the JWL Leadership Development Academy. We have a great lineup of speakers continuing to come your way. We'll be posting more content throughout the year, so please like and subscribe below and keep an eye on this channel. Also, feel free to follow us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, and thank you for viewing.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone.